Well, the toll from Monday's bombing of the Boston Marathon stands at 3 dead and 144 wounded, 17 critically. It was the worst bombing in the U.S. since the Oklahoma City attack of 1995. Monday's victims include a number of children. An 8-year-old boy named Martin Richard was killed. He was in the city to watch his father run the marathon. Martin's 6-year-old sister reportedly lost a leg in the attack, and their mother underwent surgery for a brain injury last night. The bombings took place at 2:50 p.m. local time, with 2 blasts about 100 yards apart in the heart of downtown. The first bomb exploded inside a garbage can near a group of spectators watching runners approach the finish line. This is video taken at the scene of the first bombing right when it happened. You can hear the second bomb go off about 13 seconds later. Doctors have reportedly carried out at least 10 amputations on bombing victims. A trauma surgeon at Massachusetts General Hospital said many patients suffered shrapnel wounds, either from the bombs directly or from the resulting debris.
There's a lot of small metal debris. Some people have asked already about whether these were BBs or they were parts of bombs, and I just don't think we're able to say whether these are small bits of metal that were placed there intentionally or whether they were just part of the environment that were involved in the blast.
Do you think? No group has claimed responsibility for the bombings. Both Fox News and the New York Post reported authorities are guarding a person of interest who suffered severe burns. The person was described as a Saudi national on a student visa who's being treated for his wounds at a local hospital. But with no other details to emerge, he may just be a victim of the bombing. At a news conference, Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis maintained there are no suspects so far.
I want to stress one thing. There is no suspect at Brigham and Women's Hospital. There are people that we are talking to, but there is no suspect at Brigham and Women's Hospital, has been widely reported in the press. I'd like to fix that right now.
Most of the Boston Marathon's 23,000 runners had finished the race when the bombings hit. But the streets were still packed with runners making their way to the finish line and the many more spectators cheering them on. Over 500,000 people turn out for the Boston Marathon each year. It's the oldest marathon in the country and one of the most famous in the world. It's held annually in Boston on Patriots' Day, the Massachusetts holiday commemorating the start of the American Revolution. With no suspects and almost no information to go on so far, trying to determine responsibility is only a matter of speculation. Among the potential factors of note is that in addition to Patriots' Day, Monday also marked Tax Day, the federal deadline for filing taxes. That's fueled speculation the bombing could have been the work of anti-government extremists. Speaking at the White House, President Obama cautioned against a rush to judgment and vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice.
We still do not know who did this or why. And people shouldn't jump to conclusions before we have all the facts. But make no mistake, we will get to the bottom of this. And we will find out who did this. We'll find out why they did this. Any responsible individuals, any responsible groups will feel the full weight of justice.
Witnesses of the bombings describe gruesome injuries and a sea of blood. The first witness here is Carlos Arredondo, who's appeared a number of times on Democracy Now! He became a prominent anti-war activist after his son was killed in Iraq in 2004, driving around the country in his son's pickup truck.
The bomb went off right in front of me right there. And my first instinct was to go try to help them. And I remember pick up a fellow who lost both of the limbs, and everybody around him was missing limbs too, in a big puddle of blood. And a young lady was sort of begging for help, and horrified seeing there.
It seemed like most people was lower extremities, and there were some bad-looking people, and I'm praying for all of them. We are all trying to put pressure on all the wounds for everybody, tourniquets and whatever we could do, and it was chaos.
We begin today's show with Carlos Arredondo and his wife, Mélida. They're joining us now on the phone from Boston. They were both at the scene of the bombing yesterday. We welcome you to Democracy Now! Carlos, let's begin with you. Tell us what you experienced, what you saw, where you were.
I was across the street from where the bomb exploded with Mélida, and what I saw in the beginning was a big fire coming out across the street from where we are at the time, and then the loud noise that occurred, and then the smoke, and people running, and a second explosion just right after that. My reaction was to just jump the fence to the street and cross to jump the second fence and landing in this area where was pretty much the serious injuries. You know, everybody was on the ground. It was broken limbs, people with no limbs, people totally passed out. So many injuries that I never see in my life like this. You know, was a very, very horror moment in that particular moment there. People was running, and a lot of people was really, you know, doing a great job and handling the best we could at the time.
And Carlos, you're being cited in the media as a hero for what you did for the victims. Tell us how you reacted to the bombing.
Well, it took really few minutes to understand that this was a EID explosion. And my first reaction being a volunteer for the Red Cross, and my first reaction was to, you know, just go, you know, and do my duty. So many people was doing the same thing, police officers, National Guards, people from the stands, veterans, you know, everybody just got together into the site. You know, we didn't know if it was a third bomb waiting for anybody there, you know, but everybody removed the fence by the hands and pushed everything around. And no matter of time, everybody was wheeled out, you know, to the next 150 yards, you know, emergency area, which was piled with emergency medical service and units. That was a lot of help.
And
Carlos, you helped a man. You tied a tourniquet around his leg. You were there because one of the runners was honoring your dead son in Iraq?
One of the runners was doing it to remember Alexander and 30 National Guard members start 4 a.m. that morning walking. They start going by a little bit around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was right in the street waiting for the one who was running for my son, because they was passing by around between 2 and 3 o'clock, and this explosion happened before 3 o'clock. And unfortunately, none of them got hurt.
But you were helping wounded people.
I just concentrate in removing the fence to help everybody to come into the scene, and then I concentrate in a young man who lost both of the limbs. I rip up a T-shirt, and another gentleman helped me out, and we put these tourniquets in the legs. And then the first wheelchair they arrived, you know, I pick him up and put in the wheelchair, and I drag him out of there, because that's the only I can do at the time.
And Carlos, what were you telling the victims that you were helping?
Well, at this moment, I asked him this young man his name. I asked him to, you know, to stay away, you know, to talk to me, and he was fine. You know, the ambulance are here, you know, and he was the whole time he was conscious, and the whole time he understand. He gave me his name, and I was holding, you know, trying to do what I could, and everybody else in that moment did the same thing, you know.
Carlos, you have been through so much in your life. You lost your older son, Alexander, in Iraq. You lost your next son, Brian, who committed suicide a few years later. You've been traveling around the country speaking out against violence, and now you witness this and try to save people who were injured. Mélida, maybe you would like to weigh in here. You have been right at Carlos's side in your peace activism and your activism against violence in the world.
Oh, Amy.
Could you speak right in the phone, but not into the speakerphone? Come off speakerphone, because we could hardly hear you. Mélida. Mélida, are you there? Carlos?
Okay, I'm here.
Ah, excellent.
Okay, I apologize. Good morning.
Morning.
To be quite honest, since we lost Brian in December of 2011, Carlos and I have been trying to just stay sane and have been working real hard to promote awareness about suicide, both in the military and among military families. But Carlos was heroic yesterday. I was in the stands right across the street and saw both bombings head on, and but the debris did not reach us. Thank you, Jesus. And the scene was very, very scary. I was in the top of the stands. I couldn't walk, and somebody had to help me down the sort of like the football stands, and we've been trying to nurture each other, and we've been seeing a few more doctors than usual, and it's taken a toll on us. But I knew when that bomb went off, after the second bomb went off, I knew that Carlos was there because his training as a first responder. He's in the disaster relief for the American Red Cross. That's his instinct, and to go and help. And he's helped other people who've been injured over the years in fires and things like that through his work. And so today it's been very overwhelming with the calls. I immediately got cold all day. I could not stop shaking from the cold until 2 a.m. this morning. And Carlos has been very crying and traumatized a little bit, and but we're going on. At the same time, we're full of adrenaline. So we'll be getting in touch with counseling services shortly for ourselves, because and I recommend anybody who was there to do that. The City of Boston is going to put together counseling services for people who are at the event, and the American Red Cross is going to, or just reach out to local community health centers, which we have several in the area. And but I'm very upset to hear this morning that the little boy, because that's immediately what I thought of, the children, because this is a family-friendly event, and there were children to elders to every nationality. It's a very beautiful event, and it was very upsetting to hear that the young child of the Martin family, Martin, I think his first name is, and was killed 8 years old from the part of Boston that I work in Dorchester, and both his mother and sister are severely injured and in the hospitals.